Someone is coming now. No one. Of course no one will come today, Christmas Day. Nor tomorrow either, but perhaps. No. Nothing in the letterbox. It is quite empty. What rubbish! Of course, he can't be in earnest about it. Such a thing couldn't happen. It's impossible. I have 3 little children.
Last I have found the box with the fancy dress.
Thanks. I'll put it on the table.
But it is very much in want of mending.
I should like to tear it into 1,000 pieces.
What an idea. It can easily be put in order. Just a little patience.
Yes, I will go and get Mrs. Lind, and she will help me with it.
What? Out again in this horrible weather. You will catch cold, ma'am, and make yourself ill.
Well, worse than that might happen. Where are the children?
The poor little souls are playing with their Christmas presents. But
Do they ask much for me?
you see, they are so accustomed to have their mamma with them.
Yes, but, nurse, I shall not be able to be so much with them now as I was before.
Oh, well, young children can easily get accustomed to anything.
Do you think so? Do you think they would forget their mother altogether if she went away?
Altogether? Good heavens, went away altogether?
Nurse, I want to tell you something I have often wondered about. How could you have the heart to put your own children out among strangers?
I was obliged to if I wanted to be little Nora's nurse.
Yes, but how could you be willing to do it?
What? When I was going to get such a good place by it? A poor girl who has got into trouble should be glad to. Besides, that wicked man didn't do a single thing for me.
But I suppose your daughter has quite forgotten you.
No, indeed she hasn't. She wrote to me when she was confirmed and when she was married.
Dear old Anne. You were a good mother to me when I was little.
Poor little Nora, poor dear, had no other mother but me.
And if my little ones had no other mother, I'm sure you would. Oh, what nonsense I am speaking. I'll go in to them now, I must. You will see tomorrow how charming I shall look.
I'm sure there will be no one at the ball so charming as you, ma'am.
If only I dared go out. If only no one would come. If only I could be sure nothing would happen here in the meantime. Stuff and nonsense. No one will come, only I mustn't think about it. I will brush my muff. What lovely, lovely gloves. Out of my thoughts, out of my thoughts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is someone coming. Oh, it's you, Christine. There is no one else out there, is there? And how good of you to come?
I heard you were up asking for me.
Yes, I was passing by. As a matter of fact, it is something you could help me with. Let's sit down here on the sofa. Look here. Tomorrow evening there is to be a fancy dress ball at the Stenborgs, who live above us, and Torvald wants me to go as a Neapolitan fisher girl and dance the tarantella that I learned at Capri.
I see. You're going to keep up the character.
Oh yes, Torvald wants me to. Look, here is the dress. Torvald had it made for me there, but it is also torn, and I haven't any idea how
We
to...
will easily put that right. It is only some of the trimming come unsewn, here and there. Needle and thread? Now then, that's all we want.
It is nice of you.
So, you are going to be dressed up tomorrow, Nora. I will tell you what. I shall come in for a moment and see you in your fine feathers, but I have completely forgotten to thank you for a delightful evening yesterday.
Well, I don't think yesterday was as pleasant as usual. You ought to have come to town a little earlier, Christine. Certainly, Torvald does understand how to make a house dainty and attractive.
And so do you. It seems to me you are not your father's daughter for nothing. But tell me, is Dr. Rank always as depressed as he was yesterday?
No, yesterday it was very noticeable. I must tell you that he suffers from a dangerous disease. He has consumption of the spine, poor creature. His father was a horrible man who committed all sorts of excesses, and that is why his son was sickly from childhood. Do you understand?
But, my dearest Nora, how do you know about anything about such things?
Pooh, when you have 3 children, you get visits now and then from married women who know something of medical matters, and they talk about one thing or another, and
Does Dr. Rank come here every day?
every day regularly. He is Torvald's most intimate friend and a great friend of mine, too. He's just like one of the family.
But tell me this, is he perfectly sincere? I mean, isn't he the kind of man that is very anxious to make himself agreeable?
Not in the least. What makes you think that?
When you introduced him to me yesterday, he declared he had often heard my name mentioned in this house. But afterwards, I noticed that your husband hadn't the slightest idea who I was. So how could Dr. Rank?
That is quite right, Christine. Torvald is so absolutely fond of me that he wants me absolutely to himself, as he says. At first, he used to seem almost jealous if I mentioned any of the dear folk at home, so naturally I gave up doing so. But I often talk about such things with Dr. Rank because he likes hearing them.
Listen to me, Nora. You are still very much like a child in many things, and I am older than you in many ways, and I have a little more experience. Let me tell you this. You ought to make an end of it with Dr. Rank.
What ought I to make an end of?
Of 2 things, I think. Yesterday, you talked some nonsense about a rich admirer who was to leave you money.
An admirer who doesn't exist, unfortunately, but what then?
Is Dr. Rank a man of means
Yes, he is.
and has no one to provide for?
No, no one, but I don't
And
understand.
comes here every day?
Yes, I told you so.
How can this well-bred man be so tactless?
I don't understand you at all.
Don't prevaricate, Nora. Do you suppose I don't guess who lent you the 250 pounds?
Are you out of your senses? How can you think such a thing? A friend of ours who comes here every day? Do you realize what a horribly painful position that would be?
Then it really isn't he?
No, certainly not. It would never have entered into my head for a moment. Besides, he had no money to lend then. He came into his money afterwards.
Well, I think that was lucky for you, my dear Nora.
No, it would have never come into my head to ask Dr. Rank, although I'm quite certain that if I had asked him,
But of
he
course
would.
you won't.
Of course not. I have no reason to think it could possibly be necessary, but I'm quite sure that if I told Dr. Rank that he
Behind your
needed me,
husband's back?
I must make an end of it with the other one, and that will be behind his back too. I must make an end of it with him.
Yes, that is what I told you yesterday, but
A man can put a thing like that straight much easier than a woman can.
one's husband. Yes,
Nonsense. When you pay off a debt, you get your bond back, don't you?
yes, as a matter of course.
And can tear it into 100,000 pieces and burn it up. The dirty, nasty paper.
Nora, you are concealing something from me.
Do I look as if I were?
Something has happened to you since yesterday morning, Nora. What is it?
Christine, hush. There's Torvald come home. Do you mind going into the children for the present? Torvald can't stand to see dressmaking going on. Let Anne help you.
Certainly, but I am not going away from here until we have had it out with one another.
I have wanted you so much, Torvald, dear.
Was that the dressmaker?
No, it was Christine. She's helping to put my dress in order. You will see tomorrow how I shall look quite smart.
Oh, yes. Wasn't that a happy thought of mine? No.
Splendid. But don't you think it is nice of me, too, to do as you wish?
Nice. Because you do as your husband wishes. Well. Oh, you little rogue. I am sure you did not mean it in that way. But I'm not going to disturb you. You will be wanting to try on your dress, I expect.
I suppose you're going to work?
Yes. Look at that. I have just been into the bank.
Torvalds? If your
Yes.
squirrel were to ask you for something very, very prettily,
What then?
would you do it?
I should like to hear what it is first.
Your squirrel would run about and do all her tricks if you would be nice and do what she wants.
Speak plainly.
Your skylark would chirp about in every room with her song rising and falling.
Well, my skylark does that
I would
anyhow.
play the fairy and dance for you in the moonlight, Torvald.
Nora, you surely don't mean that request you made to me this morning.
Yes, Torvald, I beg you so earnestly.
Have you really the courage to open up that question again?
Yes, dear, you must do as I ask. You must let Krogshed keep his post in the bank.
My dear Nora, it is his post that I have arranged Mrs. Lynde shall have.
Yes, you have been awfully kind about that, but you could just as well dismiss some other clerk instead of Krogshed.
Oh, this is simply incredible obstinacy. Because you chose to give him a thoughtless promise that you would speak for him, I am expected to...
That isn't the reason, Torvald. It is for your own sake. This fellow writes the most scurrilous newspapers. You've told me so yourself. How can he can do an unspeakable amount of harm? I am frightened to death of him.
Ah, I understand. It is recollections of the past that scare you.
What do you mean?
Naturally, you are thinking of your father. Hmm?
Yes, of course. Just recall to your mind what these malicious creatures wrote in the papers about Papa and how horribly they slandered him. I believe they would have procured his dismissal if the department had not sent you over to inquire into it, and if you had not been so kindly disposed and helpful to him.
My little Nora. There is an important difference between your father and me. Your father's reputation as a public official was not above suspicion. Mine is. And I hope it will continue to be so as long as I hold my office.
You could never tell what mischief these men may contrive. You ought to be so well off, so snug and happy here in our peaceful home and have no cares. You and I and the children, Torvald. That is why I beg you so earnestly.
And it is just by interceding for him that you make it impossible for me to keep him. It is already known at the bank that I mean to dismiss Krogstad. Is it to get about now that the new manager has changed his mind at his wife's bidding?
And what if it did?
Oh, of course. If only this obstinate little person can get her way. You suppose I'm going to make myself ridiculous before my whole staff to let people think that I'm a man to be swayed by all sorts of outside influence? I should very soon feel the consequences of it, I can tell you. And besides, there is one thing that makes it quite impossible for me to have Krogstad in the bank as long as I am manager.
Whatever is that?
His moral failings I might perhaps have overlooked if necessary.
Yes, you could, couldn't you?
And I hear he is a good worker, too. But I knew him when we were boys. It was one of those rash friendships that so often prove an incubus in afterlife. I may as well tell you plainly. We were once on very intimate terms with one another. But this tactless fellow lays no restraint on himself when other people are present. Oh, on the contrary, he thinks it gives him the right to adopt a familiar tone with me. And every minute it is, oh, I say, Helmer, old fellow, and that sort of thing. I assure you, it is extremely painful for me. It would make my position in the bank intolerable.
Torvald, I don't believe you mean that.
Oh, don't you? Well, why not?
Because it is such a narrow-minded way of looking at things.
What are you saying? Narrow-minded? Do you think I am narrow-minded?
No, just the opposite, dear, and it is exactly for that reason.
It's the same thing. You say my point of view is narrow-minded. So, I must be so too. Narrow-minded. Very well. I must put an end to this. Helen!
What are you going to do?
Settle it. Look here. Take this letter and go downstairs with it at once. Find a messenger and tell him to deliver it. And be quick. The address is on it. Here's the money.
Very well, sir.
Now then, little Miss Obstinate.
Torvald, what was that letter?
Krogstad's dismissal.
Call her back! There's still time, Torvald! Call her back! Do it for my sake, for our own sake, for the children's sake! Do you hear me, Torvald? Call her back! You don't know what that letter can bring upon us!
It's too late.
Yes. It is too late.
My dear Nora, I can forgive the anxiety you are in, although really it is an insult to me. It is, indeed. Isn't it an insult to think that I should be afraid of a starving quill driver's vengeance? But I forgive you, nevertheless, because it is such eloquent witness to your great love for me. And that it is as it should be, my own darling Nora. Come what will, you may be sure I shall have both courage and strength if they be needed. You will see I am man enough to take everything upon myself.
What do you mean by that?
Everything, I say.
You will never have to do that.
Oh, that's right. Well, we will share it, Nora, as man and wife should. That is how it should be. Are you content now? There. Not these frightened dove's eyes. The whole thing is only the wildest fancy. Now, you must go and play through the tarantella and practice with your tambourine. I shall go into the inner office and shut the door, and I shall hear nothing. You can make as much noise as you please. Oh, and when Rank comes, tell him where he will find me.
He was capable of doing it. He will do it. He will do it in spite of everything. No, not that. Never, anything rather than that. Oh, for some help, for some way out of it. Dr. Rank, anything rather than that, anything, whatever it is. Good day, Dr. Rank. You mustn't go into Torvald now. I think he is busy with something.
Oh, and you?
You know very well I always have time for you.
Oh, thank you. I shall make use of as much of it as I can.
What do you mean by that, as much of it as you can?
Well, does that alarm you?
It was such a strange way of putting it. Is anything likely to happen?
Oh, nothing but what I have long been prepared for, but I certainly didn't expect it to happen so soon.
What have you found out? Dr. Rank, you must tell me.
It is all up with me, and it can't be helped.
Is it about yourself?
Who else? There's no use lying to oneself. I am the most wretched of all of my patients, Mrs. Helmer. Lately, I have been taking stock of my internal economy. Bankrupt. Probably within a month, I shall lie rotting in the churchyard.
What an ugly thing to say.
Oh, the thing itself is cursedly ugly. And the worst of it is that I shall have to face so much more that is ugly before that. I shall only make one more examination of myself, and when I have done that, I shall know pretty certainly when it will be that the horrors of dissolution will begin. There is something I want to tell you. Helmer's refined nature gives him an unconquerable disgust at everything that is ugly. I won't have him in my sick room.
Oh, but Dr. Rank!
I won't have him there, not on any account. I bar my door to him. As soon as I am certain that the worst has come, I shall send you a card with a black cross on it, and then you will know that the loathsome end has begun.
You were quite absurd today, and I wanted you so much to be in a good humor.
With death stalking beside me? To have to pay this penalty for another man's sin? Is there any justice in that? And in every single family, in one way or another, some such inexorable retribution is being exacted.
Oh, rubbish! Do talk of something cheerful.
Oh, it's a mere laughing matter, the whole thing. My poor innocent spine has to suffer for my father's youthful amusements.
I suppose you mean that he was too partial to asparagus and pâté foie gras, don't you?
Yes, and to truffles.
Truffles, yes. And oysters too, I suppose.
Oysters, of course, that goes without saying.
And heaps of ports and champagne. It is sad that all these nice things should take their revenge on our bones.
Yes, especially that they should revenge themselves on the unlucky bones of those who have not had the satisfaction of enjoying them.
Yes, that's the saddest part of all. Why do you smile?
No, it was you that laughed.
No, it was you that smiled, Dr. Rank.
You are a greater rascal than I thought.
I'm in a silly mood today.
So it seems.
Dear, dear Dr. Rank. It mustn't take you away from Torvald and me.
It is a loss you would easily recover from. Those who are gone are soon forgotten.
Do you believe that?
People form new ties, and then...
New ties.
Both you and Helmer when I am gone. You yourself are already on the high road to it, I think. What did that Mrs. Lynde want here last night?
You don't mean to say you were jealous of poor Christine?
Oh, yes, I am. She will be my successor in this house. When I am done for, this woman will have her...
Don't speak so loud. She's in that room.
Today again? There, you see?
She has only come to sew my new dress. Bless my soul, how unreasonable you are. Be nice now, Dr. Rank, and tomorrow you will see how beautifully I shall dance. And you can imagine I'm doing it all for you. And Torvald too, of course. Dr. Rank, come and sit down here and I will show you something.
What is it?
Just look at those.
Silk stockings.
Flesh-colored. Aren't they lovely? And it is so dark now, but tomorrow... No, you must only look at the feet. Well, you may have leave to look at the legs, too. Why are you looking so critical? Don't you think they will fit me?
Well, I have no means of forming an opinion about that.
Shame on you! That's to punish you.
And what other nice things am I to be allowed to see?
Not a single thing more for being so naughty.
When I am sitting here, talking to you as intimately as this, I cannot imagine for a moment what would have become of me if I had never come into this house.
I believe you do feel thoroughly at home with us.
And to be obliged to leave it all,
Nonsense, you're not going to leave it.
and not be able to leave behind the slightest token of one's gratitude, scarcely even a fleeting regret. Nothing but an empty place which the first comer can fill as well as the other.
And if I asked you now for... No,
For what? For what?
for a big proof of your friendship?
Yes.
I mean, a tremendously big favor.
Oh, would you really make me so happy for once?
But you don't even know what it is.
No, but tell me.
I really can't, Dr. Rank. It is something all out of reason. It means advice and help and a favor.
The bigger a thing it is, the better. I can't conceive what it is you mean. Do tell me. Haven't I your confidence?
More than anyone else. You know you are my truest and best friend, and so I will tell you what it is. Well, Dr. Rank, it is something you must help me to prevent. You know how devotedly, how inexpressibly deeply Torvald loves me. He would never for a moment hesitate to give his life for me.
Nora, do you think he is the only one?
The only one who...
The only one who would gladly give his life for your sake?
Is that it?
I was determined you should know before I went away, and there will never be a better opportunity than this. Now you know it, Nora. And now you know, too, that you can trust me as you would trust no one else.
Let me pass.
Nora.
Helen, bring in the lamp! Dear Dr. Rank, that was really horrid of you.
To have loved you as much as anyone else does, was that horrid?
No, but to go and tell me so. There was really no need.
What do you mean? Did you know? Nora. Mrs. Helmer, tell me. Had you any idea of this?
Oh, how do I know whether I had or whether I hadn't? I really can't tell you. To think you could be so clumsy, Dr. Rank. We were getting on so nicely.
Well, at all events, you know now that you can command me, body and soul. So won't you speak out?
After what happened?
I beg you to let me know what it is.
I can't tell you anything now.
Yes. You mustn't punish me in that way. Let me have permission to do for you whatever a man can do.
You can do nothing for me now. Besides, I really don't need any help at all. You will find that the whole thing is merely fancy on my part. It really is so. Of course it is. You're a nice sort of man, Dr. Rank. Don't you feel ashamed of yourself now that the lamp has come?
Not a bit. But perhaps I had better go. Forever?
No, indeed you shall not. Of course you must come here just as before. You know very well Torvald can't do without you.
Yes. But you?
I am always tremendously pleased when you come.
It is just that put me on the wrong track. You are a riddle to me. I have often thought that you would almost as soon be in my company as in Helmer's.
Yes. You see, there are people one loves best and others whom one would always almost rather have as companions.
Yes, there is something in that.
When I was at home, of course I loved Papa best, but I always thought it tremendous fun when I could steal down to the maid's room because they never moralized at all and talked to each other about such entertaining things.
I see. It is their place I have taken.
Oh, dear, nice Dr. Rank, I never meant that at all. But surely you can understand that being with Torvald is a little like being with Papa.
If you please, ma'am.
Oh,
Is there anything wrong?
no, not in the least. It is only something I did. It is my new dress.
What? Your new dress is lying there.
Yes, that one. This is another. I ordered it. Torvald mustn't know about it.
Oh, then that was the great secret. Oh,
Of course, just go into them. He's in the inner room. Keep him as long as you can.
oh, make your mind easy. I won't let him escape.
And he is standing waiting in the kitchen?
He came up the back stairs.
But didn't you tell him no one was in?
Yes, but it was no good.
He won't go away?
No. He says he won't until he has seen you, ma'am.
Let him come in, but quietly, Helen. You mustn't say anything to anyone about it. It is a surprise for my husband.
Yes, ma'am. I quite understand.
This dreadful thing is going to happen. It will happen in spite of me, and I speak low. My husband is at home.
No matter that.
What do you want of me?
An explanation of something.
Make haste, son. What is it?
I suppose that I got my dismissal.
I couldn't prevent it, Mr. Krogstad. I fought as hard as I could, but it was no good.
Does your husband love you so little then? I mean, he knows what I can expose you to, and yet he ventures to
How
have
can
me.
you suppose that he has any knowledge of that sort?
Oh, I didn't suppose so at all. It would not be so much like our dear Torvald Helmer to show so much courage.
Mr. Krogstad, a little respect for my husband, please.
Well, certainly all the respect he deserves. But if I may be so bold, I think since you've kept this matter a little more closely to yourself, that you have a better idea than you did yesterday of what it is you've done.
More than you could teach me.
Such a bad lawyer as I am.
What is it you want of me?
Only to see how you are, Mrs. Helmer. I've been thinking about you all day long. A cashier, a mere quill driver, a man like me. Even he can have a little what is called feelings.
Show it then. Think of my little children.
Tell me, have you or your husband ever thought of mine? Matter that. I came to tell you that you need not take this matter so seriously. In the first place, there will be no accusations made on my part.
No, of course not. I was sure of that.
The whole thing can be arranged amicably. No one has to know anything about it. It can remain a secret between us three.
My husband must never get to know anything about it.
How can you prevent that? Am I to understand that you can pay the balance that is owing?
No, not just at present.
Or that you have some expedient to get the money soon?
No expedient that I may need to make use of.
Well, in any case, it would be of no use to you now. I mean, if you ever were to have so much money in hand, I would never release your bond.
Tell me what purpose you mean to put it to.
I shall only preserve it to keep it in my possession. No one who is not concerned in the matter will have the slightest hint of it. So, if the thought of it has driven you to some desperate resolution,
It
like
has.
if you had decided to run from your home,
It had.
or even something worse.
How could you know that?
Oh, most of us think about it at first. I mean, I did too.
How did you know I had thought of that?
Most of us think of it at first. I did too. But I had the courage.
No more had I.
No, that's it, isn't it? You hadn't the courage either?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Besides, it would have been a great piece of folly. Once the first storm is over, I have a letter for your husband in my pocket.
Telling him everything?
Lenient a manner as possible.
He mustn't get that letter. Tear it up. I will find some means of getting the money.
Excuse me, Mrs. Helmer, but I think I told you just now.
I'm not speaking of what I owe you. Tell me what sum you were asking my husband for, and I will get the money.
I'm not asking your husband for a penny.
What do you want then?
I want to rehabilitate myself. I want to get on, and in that, your husband must help me. For the last year and a half, I have not had a hand in anything disreputable. I have been struggling in the most restricted circumstances. I was content to work my way up step by step, but I've been turned out. So I'm not going to settle for just getting back into favor again. I want to get back into the bank again in a higher position. And your husband must make a place for me.
That he will never do.
No, he will. I know him. He will make no protest. And as soon as I'm in there again, we'll see. Within a year, I shall be manager's right hand. It will be Niels Krokstad, not Torvald Hammer, who manages the bank.
That's a thing you will never see.
Do you mean that you would do something
I
drastic?
have courage enough for it now.
You can't frighten me, a fine, spoiled lady like you.
You will see. You will see.
What, under the ice, perhaps? Into the cold, cold black water, and then into the spring to float out, unrecognizable, all horrible looking, with your hair falling out?
You can't frighten me.
You mean? People don't do such things, Mrs. Helmer. Besides, what use would it be? I should have him completely in my power all the same.
Afterwards, when I am no longer here, you...
Have you forgotten that I am holding, that I have the keeping of your reputation? Well, I've warned you. Do not do anything foolish. When Helmer has my letter, I expect a message from him. And be sure to remember that it was your husband himself who forced me in such ways again. I shall never forgive him for that.
He is going. He's not putting the letter in the box. No, that's impossible. What is that? He's standing outside. He's not going downstairs. Is he hesitating? Can he... There it is. Torvald. Torvald, there's no hope for us now.
There, I can't see anything more to mend now. Would you like to try it on?
Christine, come here.
What is the matter with you? You look so agitated.
Come here. Do you see that letter? There, look, you can see it through the glass in the letterbox.
Yes, I see it.
That letter is from Krogstad.
Nora, it was Krogstad who lent you the money.
Yes, and now Torvald will know all about it.
Believe me, Nora, that's the best thing for both of you.
You don't know all. I forged a name.
Good heavens!
I only want to say this to you, Christine. You must be my witness.
Your witness? What do you mean? What am I to?
If I should go out of my mind, and it might easily happen.
Nora.
Or if anything else should happen to me. Anything, for instance, that might prevent my being here.
Nora, you are.
And if it should happen that there were someone who wanted to take all the responsibility, all the blame, you understand?
Yes, but how can you suppose?
You must be my witness. It is not true, Christine. I am not out of my mind at all. I am in my right senses now. And I tell you, no one else has anything to know about it. I alone did the whole thing. Remember that.
I will, indeed, but I don't understand all this.
How should you understand it? A wonderful thing is going to happen.
A wonderful thing?
Yes, a wonderful thing, but it is so terrible, Christine. It mustn't happen, not for all the worlds.
I will go at once to see Krogstad.
Don't go to him. He will do you some harm.
There was a time when he would gladly do anything for my sake.
He?
Where does he live?
Oh, how should I know? Yes. Here's his card. The letter!
Nora!
What's that? What do you want?
Don't be frightened. We're not coming in. You've locked the door. Are you trying on your dress?
Yes! That's it. I look so nice, Torvald.
I see he lives at the corner here.
Yes, but it's no use. It is hopeless. The letter's lying there in the box.
And your husband keeps the key?
Yes, always.
Krogstad must ask for his letter back unread. He must find some pretense.
But it is just at this time that Torvald generally...
You must delay him. Go into him in the meantime. I will come back as soon as I can.
Torvald!
Well, may I venture at last to come into my own room again? Come along, Rank, now you will see. But what is this?
What is what, dear?
Rank led me to expect a splendid transformation.
I understood so, but evidently I was mistaken.
Yes, nobody is to have a chance of admiring me in my dress until tomorrow.
Oh. But, my dear Nora, you look so worn out. Have you been practicing too much?
No, I haven't practiced at all.
But you will need to.
Yes, indeed I shall, Torvald. But I can't get on a bit without you to help me. I have absolutely forgotten the whole thing.
We shall work it up again.
Yes, help me, Torvald. Promise that you will. I'm so nervous about it all. Oh, the people. You must give yourself up to me entirely this evening, not the tiniest bit of business. You mustn't even take a pen in your hand. Will you promise, Torvald, dear?
I promise. This evening I will be wholly and absolutely at your service, you helpless little mortal. By the way, first of all, I will just go and...
What are you going to do there?
Only see if any letters have come.
No, don't do that, Torvald.
Why not?
Torvald, please don't. There's nothing there.
Well, let me look. Ah!
I can't dance tomorrow if I don't practice with you.
Are you really so afraid of it, dear?
Yes, so dreadfully afraid of it. Please, let me practice at once. There is time now before we go into dinner. Sit down and play for me, Torvald dear. Criticize me and correct me as you play.
Great pleasure. If you wish me to.
Now, play for me. I am going to dance.
Slower. Slower.
I can't do it any other way.
Not so violently, Nora.
This is the way.
No, no, no. That is not a bit right.
Didn't I tell you so?
Let me play for her.
Yes, do. I can correct her better then.
Yes.
Such fun, Christine.
Nora,
My dear darling, Nora, you are dancing as if your life depended on it.
So it does.
Stop, Rank. This is sheer madness. Stop, I tell you.
There.
I could never have believed it. You have forgotten everything I taught you.
There. You see?
You will want a lot of coaching.
Yes. You see how much I need it. You must coach me up until the last minute. Promise me that, Torvald.
You can depend on me.
You must not think of anything but me, either today or tomorrow. You mustn't open a single letter, not even the letterbox.
Ah, you are still afraid of that fellow, hmm?
Yes, indeed, I am.
Nora, I can tell from your looks that there is a letter from him lying there.
I don't know. I think there is, but you must not read anything of that kind. Nothing horrid must come between us until all this is over.
You mustn't contradict her.
The child shall have her way. But tomorrow night, after you have danced...
Then you will be free.
Dinner is served, ma'am.
We will have champagne, Helen.
Very good, ma'am.
Hello. Are we going to have a banquet?
Yes, a champagne banquet until the small hours. And a few macaroons, Helen. Lots, just for once.
Oh, come. Don't be so wild and nervous. Be my own little skylark, as you used.
Yes, dear, I will. But go in now. You too, Dr. Rank. Christine, you must help me do up my hair.
I suppose there is nothing. She is not expecting anything?
Far from it, my dear fellow. Simply nothing more than this childish nervousness I was telling you of.
Well,
gone, out of town.
I could tell from your face.
He is coming home tomorrow evening. I wrote a note for him.
I should have let it alone. You must prevent nothing. After all, it is splendid to be waiting for a wonderful thing.
What is it that you are waiting for?
You wouldn't understand. Go into them. I will come in a moment. $5. 7 hours until midnight, and then 24 hours until the next midnight. And the tarantella will be over. 24 and 7. 31 hours to live.
Where's my little skylark?
Here she is!